All right, so now we're going to pull some additional instruments and we're going to show you how to actually assemble those instruments so that we can get them ready for the case. So we'll assemble them, then we'll show you how to verify those instruments, and then they'll be ready for the case. So basic things that you'll pull a tap. And so what's nice about our screw arrays is that they're labeled. So tap is a tap, you can kind of see that there. So we just pull that. So we'll have a tap array out. We'll also pull a driver array out. So again, pretty straightforward as far as what we're pulling there. And then I'm going to pull from the bottom of our navigation tray a drill array. So we have our drill array there. So now I've pulled those three instruments. I'm going to also pull what we call our chicken foot or turkey foot. We'll pull that as well. And what else? So we'll start with these instruments, and what we're going to do is we're going to assemble them. So I'm going to pull out a drill bit from the bottom of the nav tray, and then in our MIS tray I'm going to pull a driver and a tap. All right. So also, one quick step I forgot here. In the bottom of the MIS tray, we have driver arrays in here as well. So there's a difference between the MIS driver and versus your normal driver array. So I'll point that out to you. So this is our MIS driver. I know that because the blue top here. All right, and then at the bottom, one is tapered and one is not. So the one that's tapered is our regular driver. The one that's open is for our MIS towers. So that's wide enough so the MIS towers can fit in there attached to the screw. So if you know we're doing a perk case, you're going to make sure you grab the MIS driver out of the MIS tray. And it's at the bottom of the MIS tray. So we have these two here. So now we need to place spheres on here. So we're going to place spheres on here. And I'm going to have Jasmine kind of set us up with some spheres. And so when Jasmine is placing the spheres on there, I think we mentioned this before when we were talking about the surveillance marker. You just want to push down, make sure you kind of feel it snap in and give it a small little twist. Again, if you have your gloves on, make sure you could have been handling some saline or anything. Make sure the spheres are not wet. During the middle of the case, we never want the spheres to be wet, whether it's saline, blood, anything that gets on there, because that's going to impede the camera from seeing the sphere in its true center point. So just troubleshooting things to think about when we're talking about the camera seeing the spheres. So she's placing those on there. I think she has them all loaded up. So now I'm going to ask Jasmine which array she has in her hand. Drill. So I'm going to give her the drill bit. And so to insert this, there's a button in the center of those spheres there. She's going to press down on that button, and then she's going to insert, and then she gives a little tug to make sure it's connected. And that's as simple as it gets to connect or to assemble an array. So again, we'll do it again with a tap. Again, she's going to take the instrument, find that button in the center, press down, insert instrument, locks in, give it a tug. And one last time, we'll do it for the driver here. And press in, insert, and give it a tug. All right. So now we have some basic instruments assembled. And I'll have Jasmine do the display for us. So to verify an instrument, there is a divot on the top of these arrays. So you kind of see that there. So Jasmine's going to take two arrays in her hand just to show you. So we stack the arrays, we verify off of each other, off of the instruments. So this is the position that you'll want to be in to verify an instrument. So the instrument that's on top will be the one that always gets verified. So the proper technique is to hold it straight up and down perpendicular. I like to hold it closer to my body to get more control over it versus pushing it out where it may be wobbly. I don't want to bend like this or like this. I want to be straight up and down perpendicular as much as possible. All right. So one other instrument that we pulled, I want to make sure that we get, because it's a subtle difference, and for the most part you'll kind of figure it out if you ever run into this. So I'm going to put these spheres on here, but this is our turkey foot or chicken foot, whichever you prefer. And I think I need one more. Our spheres come in packs. Let's say, I thought they come in packs of 15 as well, but this is a pack of 25. But for a typical screws only case, you'll use about 30 to 35 spheres. If you're doing screws and inner bodies, it's probably somewhere around 70 spheres. So if you're a circulator, just know that you have a lot of spheres. You probably want to include those in your count as well. So now we have our chicken foot assembled, and then to verify the chicken foot, again, you would put it on top like so. But typically you're in the pattern of flip-flopping. So if she tries to flip-flop and put the tap on top to verify the tap, she wouldn't be able to do that. So go ahead and pretend you're going to do this. But there's no divot up here on the chicken foot to do that. So we can only take the chicken foot to verify on top, but we couldn't verify anything off of the chicken foot, if that makes sense. Also, just something to note, sometimes the surgeon wants to have two different size taps, just based on patient anatomy. So some pedicles may be bigger or smaller. And so you know we're going to use, say, a 4-5 tap and a 5-5 tap at some point in the case. So he just wants to have both of them loaded up and ready to go. So when we get ready to verify, we just want to have two tap arrays, which we can have two tap arrays, but when you go to verify your taps, you can't verify two tap arrays on top of each other. So it always has to be two different instruments. So it couldn't be two drivers. So if you're doing one, with MIS towers and one with just a shank, you couldn't do two drivers on top of each other. It has to be a driver and a tap, or a drill and a tap, or whatever, to mix and match those. So just something to think about when you're verifying instruments. Okay, so that's how you verify instruments, but we still have some important instrumentation that we want to pull as well. So we have what we call our Globus power tray here. So this is our own Globus power system. It's not interchangeable with other systems. So like the batteries are unique to us. So we can only use our Globus batteries. We couldn't use Stryker's batteries, and vice versa. So we have our own charging stations for them. So it's very unique to us. So this is kind of an all-in-one type of deal where we can use this to kind of do a little burring, drilling. We can use power for tapping. We can use power for placing a screw as well. So just depends on what the surgeon wants to use. So a lot of surgeons love to just use the burr tip just to kind of get through the cortex to get a great starting point. So I'm going to show you how to assemble that portion of it. So there's a sleeve here that we have, and then over here we have our various different connections. So if we're connecting for a drill, this is a chuck here. We have a chuck key in here as well for that, and then these two here, these are quick connects if we're attaching for tapping or power for the screws. And then this guy here is the only one that has a thread on the top here. See those threads there? So we'll pull this because this is going to be for our burr connection. And then we take our sleeve, take our connection point here with the threads, and there's threads inside there. And so it's a simple thread, righty-tighty. So hand tightening will do the trick. So we make that connection. So now this is assembled, and we'll kind of place this down. So now we're going to assemble something else. So now we're going to pull this out, this array, and then this sleeve as well. So this is an array. We just finished showing you how to verify instruments, and they all had arrays on it. This array is different because it's apart. So it's not assembled. It's not pre-assembled. We have to assemble this one. This is the only array that comes apart. So the one that says high speed is the only one that comes apart. Any other arrays that you see for Globus, they're already pre-assembled. Do not try to take those apart. If you take those apart, those will be considered defective, broken, and you have to replace those. So the only array that comes apart again is the one that says high speed on there. So we take this sleeve here, we insert here, and it's a simple thread again. Righty tighty, finger tight does the trick. So now we have this on there. All right. So at this point, what we can do is, again, to insert the instrument, button here, insert like so, locks in. All right. So now we have our own burr tips as well. So what we would do is we would put the burr tip in this way, and then here you have to get close to zoom in a little bit. But there is a lock and unlock button here. So you can kind of see that. And if I twist here, now that line lines up with there. Looks like that's the lock. And then to unlock it, untwist it, and it goes to there. Okay? Pretty straightforward. If you use any type of burr system, you put the burr in and you need to lock it. So very similar to what you've done with other types of burrs. All right, so again, we see the poles, put spheres on there, and then we also will verify this as well. Okay? So that's how we assemble that. The handpiece, when we get ready to actually use it, the bottom one here is forward. Top is reverse. We have two different speeds on here. On this side, it looks like a symbol for a drill bit. If I press this button in, it goes full speed. If I flip it over, you see it's an image of a screw. And if I push that in, then that will go at a slower speed. All right. And then if I put this in the middle, it's neutral. It's just locked. All right. To attach this, twist here, line up, and let go, and it locks in. So again, this is something that you guys are basically familiar with, not a big deal. Attach the battery on here, it'll come pill pack, attach the battery, and then you'll be fully assembled and ready to go. So, and then if you wanted to, you would take this off, grab the drill, have it chucked up, and then make that connection as well. So pretty straightforward. I don't think I need to get into too much detail other than that. All right, and last but not least is the end effector. This is where all the brains are at. So in the back here, there's electronic components that are back here. And if I open up this clasp, this opens up so that we can attach it to the end of the arm. See these three notches here? That's where it's going to attach to the arm. And let's walk over to the arm and I'll show you how to attach this. I'm going to have Jasmine kind of angle this. I can move it. So I'm going to angle this so you can get a better view of this. And now I'll have you come over here, Jasmine. I'll let you do this. So you see how the three notches are here? Top one and two at the bottom. Then we look here, top and two at the bottom. This only goes on one way. So now she's going to line it up. And when you get close to it, you'll feel a magnetic pull. So you you have to line it up, and then close that clasp. And then I usually give a little tug to make sure it's on there. And then if you see here, the little blue light will come on. And that lets you know that it's active now. So this is the cylinder where they're going to drill, tap, screw right through there. All right. You also notice on here, there's a little divot on top right here. We can also verify instruments off of that as well. So before we were stacking instruments, and so you'll do that early on. So patient isn't even in the room when you're verifying your instruments at that point. Let's say we fast forward, we're in the middle of the case, the surgeon says, you know what, I want to use an awl or a probe, but you never use that. And then he says, nope, I want to use it right now. So now you go digging through your trays, you find it, and then you can just bring it over to the field instead of trying to stack it against two instruments. We can just simply set it on top of here because this is in the field, and then we'll verify our instruments off of there. So it's pretty straightforward to do that as well. Other basic things to kind of think about since we're talking about the end effector. We can control the end effector here. This arm will be draped. So let me take this off. So All this will be draped. We'll put this on sterilely over the top of that drape. And so the first assist surgeon, or maybe even a scrub tech, has access to this. And then if they really wanted to, they can control it right here. So there's two things here that kind of stand out. These, most people gravitate towards these because it just looks like it's meant to do something. Right now, these don't do anything for us. It's this little ridge right here is what we want to put our fingers on. It's a 2-point connection where we pinch. You hear that pinch there, and I can move this arm. Go ahead and try it, Jasmine. Oh, she's a pro. All right, so that's how we attach our end effector. The end effector is also considered an instrument. So we'll have to verify the end effector as well. So if you're thinking about the flow of things, how things go, you're going to open up all your trays. You're then going to assemble your instruments. You're going to verify your instruments. At that point, at some point, patient probably comes in the room. You flip the patient. Once that patient is flipped, the extra bed goes out of the room. There's less foot traffic. At that point, then we would want to drape the robot. And once we drape the robot, then we'll be able to place the end effector on over the drape, and then we'll need to go ahead and verify the end effector. So that's the order of things, how they will go. So at this point, I'm going to continue on with the draping and how to verify the end effector, and then we'll circle back to the inner body instruments and how to verify those. So we'll keep this totally separate from that, so that way we can kind of compartmentalize this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the end effector off, and I'm going to place it here, and we're going to make room so that we can go into draping. So you want to go ahead and stop it here.